Welcome to another Explainer. Today we're embarking on a pretty fascinating escape journey. We're going to look at a fundamental business concept that completely changes how we view success. For decades, the default mindset in business has been all about intense competition, right? Just battling it out with rivals for every last inch of territory. But what if the secret to incredible success isn't about fighting at all? What if it's about literally walking away from the battlefield entirely to find the freedom of unique market creation? Well, that is the exact journey we're taking today as we unpack the Blue Ocean strategy. We are shifting our mindset from fighting over scraps to discovering entirely new worlds.
Okay, let's dive into this. Now, you might be wondering, what on earth do modern acrobats and budget airlines have in common? On the surface, absolutely nothing. One is entirely about artistic entertainment, and the other is just a strictly logistical mode of transportation. Yet, as we'll uncover today, both of these vastly different industries utilize the exact same strategic escape route to survive and thrive. They both realized that playing by the old rules was a guaranteed path to failure. Actually, their surprising connection is the ultimate proof of the strategy we're about to explore.
So here is the roadmap for our escape journey today. 1. The bloody red ocean. 2. Entering the blue ocean. 3. The 4-point framework. 4. Case study circus reinvented. 5. Case study airlines evolved. And finally, 6. Make competition meaningless. Let's get moving. Section 1. The bloody red ocean. Surviving the cutthroat market. This is where most businesses live right now. And frankly, it's a highly dangerous, overcrowded trap. The traditional way of doing business is entirely based on survival in these cutthroat conditions. The red ocean represents all existing industries and markets today. Here, companies are constantly fighting each other over the exact same pool of customers. The source material paints a very vivid picture here. Because everyone is fiercely battling for that same slice of the pie, the competition literally turns the ocean waters red with blood. The brutal reality is that businesses just exhaust themselves trying to win by making a product slightly cheaper or fighting to add a tiny bit more quality than their established rivals. It's a war of attrition, and it's an incredibly difficult place to survive in, let alone grow.
Section 2. Entering the blue ocean. Creating new demand.
So, how do we leave those bloody waters behind? Well, we transition to the escape route. This is all about leaving the overcrowded existing markets and sailing into uncharted, peaceful territory. The core idea isn't to fight better, it's to stop fighting altogether. And this brilliantly illustrates the fundamental shift in mindset you have to make. The red ocean is all about competing in existing markets and fighting over old demand, but the blue ocean strategy, it tells us to tap into an untested market. If you create a completely new market, there is zero competition because you're generating new demand across industry boundaries. You aren't trying to steal someone else's customer, you're creating a customer that didn't even exist before. Section 3. The 4-point framework. This is your map to the blue ocean. Now, I know it's easy to just say, hey, go create a new market, but how exactly do you do that? Well, the source lays out 4 critical actions you must take to completely transform your existing business. 1. What factors that the industry has long competed on should be eliminated? 2. What factors should be reduced well below the industry standard? 3. What factors should be raised well above the industry standard? And 4. What should be created that the industry has literally never offered? By applying these 4 points to alter your existing business model, you fundamentally lower your costs while simultaneously increasing the overall value you provide. It's the ultimate formula for transformation.
Section 4. Case study. Circus reinvented. From expensive animals to theatrical art.
Let's move to our first traveler on this journey and see how this builds in the real world, the traditional circus. This is a classic example of an industry that was drowning in a red ocean and desperately needed a lifeline. The old circus model was essentially a sinking ship. They were trapped charging low ticket prices, yet the operational difficulty was incredibly high. And why? Primarily because of the animals. I mean, let's be honest, feeding a menagerie of elephants and lions every single day is an absolute logistical nightmare, not to mention absurdly expensive. The old circus was weighed down by massive maintenance costs and tiny profit margins, just constantly fighting other circuses for the same families looking for a cheap weekend out in. But then they looked at the framework, and the pivot they made was dramatic. They completely eliminated the animals, wiping out their biggest cost and worst logistical headache in one swoop. Instead, they raised the level of acrobatics and combined it with theater. They added compelling stories and highly artistic performances. And by doing this, they stopped targeting children with cheap tickets and started targeting wealthy adults. They completely redefined their market.
Today, as the source notes, they're incredibly successful, highly profitable shows running in places like Las Vegas and Paris, based entirely on this new animal-free theatrical model. They did it. They created a blue ocean.
Section 5. Case Study. Airlines Evolved. From flying canteens to a la carte. Now, let's look at our second traveler on this journey, the passenger airline industry. Much like the circus, they found themselves completely bogged down by their own traditional ways of operating. The old airline model was sinking under the weight of trying to be everything to everyone. Airlines used to provide free, elaborate meals, nicely served to absolutely everyone on board. And let's face it, those airplane meals were usually terrible anyway. But because of these high overarching costs, overall ticket prices just had to be high. The source describes how the cabins essentially turned into a crowded mess, functioning more like flying canteens. Everyone was competing on who had slightly less awful airplane food, which kept costs astronomical on the ocean incredibly red. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how clearly it connects our two travelers. This directly compares how both the circus and the airline industry use the exact same blue ocean tactics to escape. The circus eliminated expensive animals, the airlines eliminated the free meals scheme. By dropping the meals, airlines could slash ticket prices drastically, which instantly grew their business. Then look over at the created column. The circus created theatrical art. The airlines created an a la carte system. They generated new demand by offering specific add-ons. The strategy is identical. Stop doing the expensive thing everyone else is doing and create a targeted new kind of value. And the airlines didn't stop there. They continued to evolve these new business ideas with incredible ingenuity. The source notes that if a customer gets truly hungry now, the airline will just sell them cup noodles. Simple, right? Some airlines evolved by putting small TV screens in front of passengers for movies. Others took the brilliant and bold step of removing business class entirely. Actually, scratch that, they didn't just remove it. They chose to run purely economy flights highly successfully. Or they added video games to those TV screens and charged customers directly to play them. By thinking differently, they evolved a standard expensive flight into a highly customizable, budget-friendly experience, generating brand new revenue streams from a newly defined budget-conscious customer base.
Section 6, Make Competition Meaningless, the final destination.
This brings us to the conclusion of our framework journey, the expansive, uncontested market space where you no longer have to look over your shoulder at what the other guy is doing. I want you to remember this fundamental truth. Market boundaries are never fixed. Your thinking creates the new market. The limitations you perceive in your industry only exist because of traditional ways of thinking. If you start thinking in new ways, like removing animals from a circus or removing free food from a flight, you create new markets and entirely new customers. And when you do that, the competition, it simply vanishes. So, the crucial point is this. Don't compete, create. If you simply follow what everyone else is doing, you're guaranteeing that you'll stay trapped in the red ocean. But if you can take an existing business model, alter it, and create something genuinely new, you will find success. The absolute best strategy in business isn't to beat the competition, it's to make the competition meaningless by creating a new world entirely. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question for you. What new market will you create? Look at your own work, your own industry. What expensive animals or free meals can you eliminate? What new value can you create? The blue ocean is out there, wide open and waiting. It's time to stop fighting over the same old space, apply this escape strategy, and make your competition meaningless. Keep learning, keep structuring your ideas, and we'll see you on the next explainer.